So, I know I'm a little late to the party, but vehicles in the command zone is pretty cool, huh? Well, I, like many other Magic creators have already done, want to talk about some of my picks that sound like a ton of fun. If you watched my last video about Bracket 1 decks, you might have noticed that I have an RMS Titanic deck already brewed up. The premise is pretty simple. Drop RMS Titanic as soon as possible, crew it with a low-cost creature, make a ton of treasures with a couple buff spells to amplify that number, then either recast it from the command zone or cheat the cost with red artifact recursion. But that's just the synopsis. Let's look at some specific cards. Cinderwall, Slumbering Dragon, and Torpid Malak are all cards that have 3 power for just 1 mana. Even though they're slow or just bad in most decks, in this deck that's just enough to crew the commander. Dynamite Diver fulfills a similar purpose, but only because that's what the card was literally designed to do. Sunset Strike Master is one of my favorite cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. It's 2 mana ramp on a creature and completely unconditional in red. And it's a 3/1, which means it can ramp us early and crew the commander after. Guidelight Matrix, Chandra's Spark Hunter, and Mech Hanger are all here for when we can't find a creature to crew that commander. Any 1 mana pump spell that provides at least 2 power already pays for itself and then some, but red can do better than that. In fact, I only run 2 spells that pump that low, being Raise the Effigy since it can flex into artifact removal if needed, and Boulder Rush since it adventures into a body that can later be summoned to crew the commander. The rest of the 1 mana pump provides 3 power. All of the 2 mana pump I run provides 4 power, save for Siege Smash, which can flex into artifact removal and has Split Second, which can certainly come in handy, and 1 more being Sazcap's Brew, which is usually a filter effect, where most people don't worry about the buff, but in here, it is slightly helpful. Okay, we've pumped up our commander and made a bunch of treasure. Now what? Well, that's just it. The world's your oyster. You have mana out the wazoo and mono red, and the sky is the limit. I personally want to take a little bit of what I want to expect from Edge of Eternities. And what comes from the Blind Eternities? Eldrazi! From Kozilek to Ulamog to Emrakul, none will make bad choices. But why stop there? Just drop all of them. But you only have a limited amount of treasure, even if it is a lot. Well, let me introduce you to Inspiring Statuary. This neat little device lets you tap your treasures without sacrificing it to pay for generic costs. And most Eldrazi Titans only cost generic mana. So if you think it could happen, it can. This also works well with X spells if you want to drop Crackle with Power or Jaya's Immolating Inferno. In lieu of this, you could just play splashy red spells. Insurrection, Warstorm Surge, Spectacular Showdown, just whatever you're feeling. Okay, that's all well and good for RMS Titanic, but what else is out there? Well, have you ever wanted to do Oops All Utility Lands? The Regalia will have you covered there. There's no need for color fixing in a colorless deck, so we can swing for the fences. War Room is a wonderful card in a colorless deck since it draws a card and deals no damage to you since your commander has no colors in its identity. Rogue's Passage will help get your car through once people have put up some blockers. But with the car's ramp, as long as you can drop a land for turn, sometimes evasion just isn't needed. Strip Mine and Wasteland will keep your non-ramping, or too much ramping, opponents in check. Demolition Field won't slow down ramp, but it can pick out particularly powerful lands and do away with them. The Urza lands and Planar Nexus are all up for grabs, potentially ramping you very hard in colorless. Shrine of the Forsaken Monument and Temple of the False Gods will ramp here as well. I wouldn't normally endorse Temple, but in this package, you're getting lands so quickly, I think it will probably be worth it. Yavimaya and Urborg are both technically colorless and protect you from Void Mirror. Though, if you run into someone running Void Mirror, that's probably a trauma response. Still, it will help with lands like Maze of Ith or Dark Depths actually tap for mana. Speaking of Dark Depths, you already know Thespian Stage will find a lovely home here to make a giant beater. Vesuva has a similar ability that serves a very different purpose, copying whatever important land out there that you want more of. Inventor's Fair can find any old artifact, which you probably have plenty being a colorless deck. Speaking of tutoring, Urza's Cave and Expedition Map can find you any one land you're really craving. I could go on and on about utility lands since they're so much fun, but I'll leave the rest for you to find some bangers. Let's not forget that we do have to get to 4 mana to get this commander out. The best way to do that is with some 2 mana Rocks and Dorks. Quick warning, do not run Arcane Signet or Commander Sphere in a colorless deck. For the same reason that War Room won't cause you to pay life, these rocks won't produce mana. Now that that's out of the way, I want to turn to my Myr brethren, Plague Myr and Myr Convert. Both of these will ramp through 2 and proceed to crew the commander. Some players might get scared of Infect, which is understandable, so take the initiative to put them at ease as to their purpose in the deck. Mannequin and Automated Artificer serve similar roles, but obviously aren't Myr, so a little less cool. Still, they do their job well. Ebony Fly can also do this, but at a steep mana investment each turn. Don't recommend it, but if it's all you got, it works. Guardian Idol can do this for a bit less mana. None at all would be preferable again, but we take what we can get. Throw a few more non-creature rocks in there and you should be all set. Some 1-drop creatures to get ready to crew Regalia would also be helpful. Mimknight being a 0-drop crewer is very nice, but no other upside really. Endless One, Stonecoil Serpent, and Ugin's Conduit can be a 1-drop crewer early or a beater in the late game. Arcbound Worker, Gingerbrute, and Hope of Gyriper can provide some utility when you're done crewing with them. Okay, we have assembled some crazy number of lands, now what? Well, there's the obvious route of Eldrazi. You should have plenty of colorless pips here, unlike RMS Titanic, so grab your pick of the litter here. Kozilek the Broken Reality makes for a nice anthem of all your creatures. All Is Dust will send your opponents back into the Stone Age. Other than Eldrazi, Portal to Phyrexia will bomb boards and put value on yours. Darksteel Forge will protect a large number of your permanents. Darksteel Monolith will let you drop bomb after bomb. It's really whatever you can think up. I'll let you pad out the rest of the list. Highly recommend some draw since that's a category I've left for you to mostly figure out. If you have any more suggestions for any of these builds, leave them in the comments below, and while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. Moving on, the Pridwen Steel Flagship is next up to bat here, and we have some artifact and token themes. First of all, I'd like to point out that once Pridwen is out and free of summoning sickness, it can basically crew itself if you can play an artifact. This does include artifact lands like Darksteel Citadel and Ancient Den. Idol of Oblivion comes down and immediately makes you a token if Pridwen is in play, allowing for immediate card draw on mono white. Staff of the Storyteller does a very similar thing. Solemn Simulacrum is definitely a card that has slowly been being crept out of relevancy. But here, it does everything it normally does, and makes a token with Pridwen. Now on this next take I may be biased, but while we're on the topic of artifact creatures, it would be blasphemous not to bring up my Myr brethren. Myr Retriever and Scrap Trawler can both help retrieve old artifacts to be played again. Gold Myr and Palladium Myr help ramp towards your commander early and late game make some tokens. Shimmer Myr, hey, that's me, is wonderful if you want to hold up your mana and drop artifacts to make instant speed blockers. Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter, does a similar thing, but it's not as cool as a Myr. I mean, if you want the good option, there's Gandalf the White, which is a little of a win more card, but it fulfills a lot of functions that the deck wants to see. If only you were an artifact Gandalf. Anyways, Securitron Squadron synergizes well with both the token plan and artifact plan. Bronze Guardian provides some protection as well as a backup finisher if the commander gets hated out too much. If you need to remove your opponent's things, Dispatch is a lovely alternative to Swords to Plowshare or Path to Exile in this deck. You could run those other two, but I prefer more flexible removal like Generous Gift, Stroke of Midnight, Grasp of Fate, or Unexplained Absence. As for larger removal swaths, Austere Command can put in work in most decks, just be careful what modes you name. Ravnica at War will miss all of your creatures, but might miss plenty of your opponents as well. Organic Extinction may wipe your tokens, but will leave a large portion of your board untouched. Meanwhile, Mana Rocks will ramp you early and token you up late game, making them much less of a late game dead draw. Speaking of ramp, it probably won't hurt to run some artifact cost reducers to make your life easier. And since you're pumping out tokens, running a few other vehicles wouldn't be a bad idea. Nautiloid can hate out graveyards. Reckoner Bankbuster can draw some cards, then make a treasure and a pilot later. Thunderhawk Gunship provides some very nice evasion. Reaver Titan is a hard-to-remove clock on the game. Weatherlight makes for some nice card advantage if you're deep into artifacts. Aerial Surveyor provides a little bit of catch-up ramp. Brotherhood Vertibird can be very scary damage for you late game, and Darksteel Juggernaut can do a similar thing even though it's not a vehicle. And Salvation Engine can be some very nice recursion. Speaking of recursion, spells like Brilliant Restoration, Open the Vault, and Redress Fate can be very nice after a board wipe, though they will affect your opponents just as much, so be careful casting these. If you want the effect all to yourself, Triumphant Reckoning does the same job for a bit more mana. Alright, once again, let's talk utility lands. Buried Ruin can grab an artifact from the graveyard back to hand. Monumental Hinge can create some card advantage for all your historic cards. Though, if you really want card advantage here, Fomori Vault is the way to go. Inventor's Fair can pretty quickly tutor up at whatever you might need. Then it's never a bad idea to run Demolition Field and Scavenger Grounds in case you have problems with lands or other graveyards. Power Depot, Treasure Vault, and Scene of the Crime all trigger artifacts entering along with their other text. Myriad Landscape is a little slow, but can't hurt to get a little ramp in mono white. And Urza's Cave can find any of these fun effects. Now that sounds like an interesting deck. All of that is well and good, but I want to leave you off with some of my thoughts around the rules change. Overall, I think it's a good thing right now. This will breathe a lot of life into Commander for those who needed something to inspire them to brew their next deck. I am a little fearful about any upcoming sets that might include sci-fi universes beyond and their stupid price points. But ultimately, I'm cautiously optimistic. But that's just me. What do you think about the change? Do you think WotC is making a huge mistake here? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and as always, have a good one.